Good afternoon. My name is Luiz Quintela. I work for Lightspeed, and Lightspeed has been working for a number of years with Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is actually a double case study. It's a case study on Scrum adoption and then scaling Scrum. So the project has been running for a number of years. Nationwide is an insurance company, also has a financial services part to it. Is headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, has about 39,000 employees. And in this particular instance, they had a difficulty in catching up with the market. The time to the market was very low compared to the competition. So first we adopted Scrum there, and one of the things we did from the very beginning was to have community of practices. We had community practice for coaches, for Scrum Masters, for product owners, and they had invited guest speakers, sometimes their own people speaking, sometimes having brown bag lunches. We had a very large effort in propagating information as quickly and as easily as possible. We initially came with 5 teams, then it went to 36 teams, and then kept growing. Right now there's about 250 something teams. So it's a very large organization. In the IT side, where initially this went, the development side, we started with Scrum of Scrums, which we called S2. This was before ScrumatScale was codified, but it's the same philosophy. We had the Scrum of Scrums, which is between a leader person, which you could say the Scrum Master for Scrum of Scrums, who facilitates for 5 Scrum teams. Then this happens daily. Twice a week, these facilitators, they get together as a Scrum of Scrums that's facilitated by an application development executive, and that in turn gets also twice a weekly on a 4th level of Scrums that involve the CIO and other executives. So it's very easy to propagate things from one team all the way up if that becomes necessary. Regardless of that, teams are encouraged to say turn to red and get immediate attention to whatever problem they have. We also expect any team member at any time to be able to give status or whatever questions that may arise. Then the product owner organization also mirrored the same structure. But important for us is we moved them from a project-based to a product-based approach, which is a lot easier to handle things, that the teams can be more stable and there's no churning and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We notice that there was quite a bit of improvement that you guys can see on the slides. There was an improvement in the business side where it used to be a huge bottleneck by about 64%. So there was a large improvement. That's cut velocity to what used to be less than half. And there was quite a bit of an expense reduction. As you also can see, as an example, on a mobile app, which was an area that they needed a lot of improvement, it went to development in basically 22 days, from requirements to shipping the first iteration in 22 days. And also, we went from concept to cash in 120 days. So we went from having an idea to actually driving revenue to the business quite quickly. And you also can see that there was a huge jump in quality, which is very important, that we went basically to have no defects, very little in the first 30 days of use, which is a major accomplishment. We actually have less people in the Scrum teams by about 25%, and we actually had a jump in quality, which is a very important metric that saves a lot of money, gives a lot of satisfaction for the user because they're not dealing with a buggy product, and etc. So it's a very interesting metric to have. And This was so successful that the other office that Nationwide has in Des Moines, Iowa, also adopted the same model of Scrums for both organizations. In here, you can see what we call the CIO board, but it actually doesn't belong to the CIO. This is in the open. Anybody can go there and look at the board. It's for all the team members, for everybody. And you can see things like metrics, what's the current status of whatever releases for each one of the products. And you can notice things there that like red, green, and yellow. So the teams that need attention, they go and flip it to red, and immediately somebody goes there and help them out. So I'm always been a very big proponent of boards. Large boards, I actually like physical boards. They're a lot easier to explain. Nobody needs to go anywhere to turn a machine on to get anything. And in all my jobs, I always emphasized the boards. Any questions? Mm-hmm.
What was the hardest part of that?
The hardest part is to actually convince people that their budgets are basically the same. Because you always come and say, well, but I allocate money per project, right? And then you always ask them, well, but listen, your staffing and all your needs, you can pretty much tell from year to year that they're going to have a variance of what? Plus minus 10% maybe? Once they realize that, they understand, well, I just can allocate money and resources, not people, resources, on a product based and basically have the same result. But it's making the realization that it's already there. It's just how you slice the pie, or like how you slice the user store in our parlance. It's basically the same approach.